everyone, I'm Amber. So today we are going to be reviewing a movie. It's called Which Brings Me to You. It stars Nat Wolff and Lucy Hale. I love Lucy Hale movies. I think she is in her prime, like movie making age, and she's been in so many rom coms, and I've loved just seeing her portray. Um, Funny enough, very similar characters, but like each unique and different in their own way. And I have yet to see a Nat Wolff movie since I've seen him on Nickelodeon. And I think he was in that one movie. I think of it, he was in what's it called? Old. But I can't remember. It may be something else, but I think I really got to appreciate him in this movie. And they use, of course, their artistic talents. Um, Both of them sing, and it was not what I expected. Um, he and her, they just kind of like ended up telling each other their history, their stories. And in the end, they tell like the very like pivotal, important that they were kind of like keeping from each other, because it's like that story that like can change your perspective on a person. Once you really like think about it in depth. Lucy's story was, she plays Jane and he plays Will. She talks about like her significant other that she had at a certain time in her life, who was a professor, and she was a master's student. And I thought it was going to be like it was her professor and she ended up sleeping with him. But no, it ended up being that he was an alcoholic and he passed away after she left. And, she blames herself for not being there for him. She blames herself, I think, for a lot of things, that she wasn't capable of staying for the long run, but she um, felt like she couldn't. She just kind of knew that she wasn't capable of it. There was another person that she dated who um, had like, I think he had some type of schizophrenic kind of uh, way of thinking. And she just kind of got up and she would walk away and she would never come back. And it's really sad and it's really unfortunate. But she knew that this was just a repetitive nature of hers, because she she was young, and this was something that was a red flag in a way to her, because it could have gone astray. And I think with a lot of these guys, it could have turned really toxic, but also just because she she just couldn't. And then we have Will over here, who's very similar in a lot of ways. He couldn't in a different way. I think for her, it was kind of like she couldn't take the pressure of having to fully invest herself that much in a relationship when it came to it being, she couldn't commit, especially when she didn't have full feelings for the person, and she discovered she was kind of gonna lose herself with the person. Whereas Will was more sort of being the guy and was just like making his own decisions. I can't do this. I'm not fully ready. And both were, I think, very mature in knowing that. And there's this one scene where she talks about how she was like, "You were young, you didn't know any better." I think both were very mature in knowing that they couldn't progress in relationships, and therefore they had to stop it. I don't agree with them just leaving. And then obviously he made, you know, the choice ultimately to be in his daughter's life. And like they were talking on the phone in that one scene, and I was just like, obviously she knows, who her dad is. He visits her, and he talks about how he doesn't like talk about her enough, and like he should, and that he's a mess. And I'm like, you know what, you have your stuff together more than many other people. I mean, you want a relationship with your daughter, you've had a relationship with your daughter, you knew when a relationship just wasn't function anymore, you know, put yourself first, not in always the right ways, but you weren't, you know, bad about it. And I don't think neither was Jane. But it's just kind of like the way that all those relationships affected them, and that they both knew that they couldn't commit. And now here they are, clearly having strong feelings for each other, clearly knowing everything about each other, wanting to know everything about each other, and wanting to commit, but still being very scared. All in one night. It's insane. And so it's so interesting because I thought they were gonna be like, because they meet at a wedding, and I thought they were going to like, you know, spend the night together at the wedding and everything, and maybe develop some kind of relationship after that. But no, this was like a whole night. They didn't even like, they kept going back and forth to the venue, back and forth to the motel, to the beach, and they were just staring at the water. Um, but yeah, this all started with her just wanting to have like a one night stand with him, or a one day stand in the coat closet. And then he was just like, no, I can't. He wanted, at first I was like listening to each one of his stories, trying to figure out what was the I can't about. And um I later just kind of was like, he wants to do things right. He wants to start doing things right, but he can't. He hasn't been able to. And then he has a daughter, and it's just like, he talked about how he wanted to start a conversation with Jane because he wanted to tell her about her. And like, even before they started talking, like, they just had this instant connection and this instant attraction to one another. Like, I saw them, like, you know, kind of in the beginning, you know, looking at each other, and the way she was just kind of like smiling at him, you could tell there was this instant, you know, connection. And she said it could have been anybody that she wanted to like sleep with, but I'm just like, I think you were attracted to him. I think it would have been him, um, if you had another option. Um, but yeah, and so she asked him, you know, do you have any like relationships or any standing kind of relationships that would affect us later, or would like come up later? And I just would be like, you know, running for the hills, because like she talks about how like in these relationships, you know, she kind of, something happens, and it's usually this like mind blowing thing that happens to her. And with every single guy, you know, she leaves. At first, she's like, "Oh no, I can stay with the first guy that, you know, he had the schizophrenic. I'm just diagnosing him, but he seemed like he had something. And he thought like, you know, that people were spying on him, and all these different things. And so she really wanted to be there for him. She loved him, but it just was like too much. I think it was her first experience of like, whoa, that is gonna drown me, and I can't do it. And so she talks to him about this, you know, all these experiences, and tells him that, is there anything that I will learn later on down the road? And of course she brings this up as well, because she was going to do it with him, and he didn't want to, and she didn't know why, but he said, I can't, I blah blah. And then she kind of was like, okay, like, so what is it? um and then, you know, she's so attracted to him that ultimately it does happen. And after they've talked about a lot of different things, and then he mentions his daughter, and then she just kind of freaks, and she goes and she walks away, and she takes an Uber. And then she has like a moment of epiphany, I guess, in the car, and he goes out into the ocean. I think he's gonna, you know, and no. And then he drives off, and he's like going to go find her, and they go find each other. And I kind of wanted the end to be more, it felt so scripted. It felt like, I want to keep telling a story with you. I want to keep telling, because they've been talking all night and telling stories. Um, and I don't know, I just kind of like wanted them to have more of a conversation of like, uh, they did mention it where it's like, I like talking to you. I still want to talk to you even regardless of that. Like, but then it became this whole like, together we can fix our mess kind of thing. And like, I don't know, it just turned a little too scripted, in my opinion. But the one sentence where he was talking about his daughter, and he was saying that you know, he wants to talk more about her, like, that felt realistic, and everything else felt like they were just kind of reading it from like a prompter or something. um and I kind of wanted it to be less like this moment where the sun is shining on them, and it's like this, you know, pivotal moment, and it's like they come together, and yes, we can do this together. I wanted it just kind of to be more raw, and you know, it was beautiful, like, don't get me wrong, but I just wanted it to be more raw and less that they were saying things that didn't feel 100% like it went with the movie or their characters. And yes, they're both a mess. Yes, you know, they both, you know, had this instant connection. They've talked to each other all night and everything. And I think that the whole idea of them, like, saying, like, hey, you know, I think that you definitely brought something out of me in talking today. And, you know, I want to continue talking to you. I want to, you know, keep getting to know you. And even with all that, I, you know, I haven't been able to commit, and I'm scared, and this and this and that. And, but, like, I can't, you know, stop thinking about our connection. Something like that. I don't know. Um, it felt a little bit more like, um, yeah, let's all come together and we can do this kind of thing. And like they share their like upbringing as well, and like the one that really stuck to me was Jane's, where, you know, she came from a Catholic upbringing, and she was like rebelling against that. Um, and it just like they told their story from beginning to end. Yeah, I think that in that moment where he was being asked by the other girl, like, can I buy you a drink? He like literally he realized that, oh, I am attracted to this girl, like, you know, let's go and let's see where this goes. I think it was part of that like connection, the instant connection that they had when one another. And um I love how at first she's just like, nope. No, and she seems very independent, very, you know, sure of herself and everything. And then here's this guy who's just like, you know, continuously talking and insisting, you know, and after everything that, you know, they both been through, and it's weird for them to like be invested in someone again, and it's scary for them, but they can't help it, you know, and it's like it's just a really I think fun, not what I was expecting movie. And they they crash a party, they go and they break into places. It's just kind of one fun night, and then they don't know if it's going to end, and if it ends, you know, are they going to be um keeping in contact, or it's just one night that they had together. And you know, after the whole coat closet incident, and then they talk and everything, she's like, yeah, I'll have your number, and then she calls him and everything, and then he goes and he finds her again, and just continues the story, like, you know, she stops, and like they never get far away from the venue really, and they just kind of end up in that same area, and coming back to one another, and yeah, I think it was a great movie. It was a really pleasant, very unexpected movie. Um, and it's funny how we never really meet the bride and groom that they knew about the whole dead cat, where they were like, oh, the cat's dead. The cat really did look dead. And the cat ended up being alive and everything. They're just so quirky. They're so fun and everything. And then they are so similar when they start telling their stories to one another. And there's so many things that like drive them apart, but then also drive them together in moments that just keep coming back. And that was really cute. So yeah, that's my review for this movie. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you all soon. Bye.